Good afternoon, everyone. This is our Wednesday, January 10th regular Board of County Commissioners meeting. Happy New Year to everybody, 2018. Let's see, John, any additions or deletions to today's agenda?
There are no additions or deletions to the agenda today.
Good. I'll open this up next for public comments. Anybody wishing to make a public comment that is not on today's agenda, please come forward. State your name and please limit your comments to about 3 minutes or so.
Yes. Hello, I'm Leslie Thomas from the Horse Council. Nice to see you all in the new year. I'm actually would like a clarification from the Board of County Commissioners with respect to this Prince Creek Trail and the approved users for it. It was approved in July that the equestrians, hikers, and bikers would be able to use this trail. And after attending and looking at the, there's two issues. One was looking at the map that has been sent out by OST for public comment. On the icons, it leaves the horse off that trail section. It has the hikers and bikers. And then they are leaving the horse, truck, and trailer parking off as an option for parking in the bullpen lot. But the other thing is, during the last meeting, which I have the minutes for here, the December 12 meeting, when they were discussing the Prince Creek bullpen parking and trail, Mike Pritchard stated that he felt like, the trail hadn't been built for horses and they shouldn't be allowed on it. And then Graham seconded that, basically, saying he agreed. And so the Horse Council is really wondering where we are. This was purchased for all user groups. It's well documented for that. And if they have built the trail, we can modify the trail. We'll modify the trail if that's necessary. We do see the parking as a separate issue. So that would, of course, we want at least one trucker and trailer to be able to park down there. You have so much land. One should be able to swing through, because to access the middle of the crown, the BLM, which we are definitely a user group, recreational user group, they're recognized. Those are historic horse trails long before, over 100 years. So we can't access them from the top. So, and we sent a letter, over 100 people down at the bottom there at Prince Creek who ride horses in an equestrian facility and on their farms, and they really have no place to ride them on a trail except for the crown. So that's their only way to get to the crown. They can't get to it through private lands. All the private homeowners are just fed up with trail users. They've locked off their lands. So I would ask for that clarification. Number one is if something has changed, because the way this seems, it seems like it opens it up for discussion if horses are not going to be allowed on that Prince Creek Trail.
All right, thank you. We happen to have some open space and trail staff here. Without getting into a lengthy discussion, perhaps you could just quickly make a comment to address Leslie's question.
Up at a microphone.
You'll have to come up to a mic if you can or can't, and if it needs to go before the Open Space and Trails Board meeting. There is a meeting tomorrow morning, but...
Thanks, George. Dale Will with Open Space and Trails. I have to confess, I'm not sure what the answer to Leslie's question is. That is not a project that I've been intimately involved in, but I am happy to take this back and get an answer for you after the meeting.
All right, that'd be great. And we get that information to Leslie as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great.
Thanks, Leslie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leslie.
Anybody else wishing to make a public comment that's not on today's agenda? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment and bring it back to commissioner comments. Steve.
Well, today marks a turnover point for the Board of County Commissioners, and George Newman has been our chairman for the whole past year, and I'd like to thank George for doing a really terrific job of being chairman. It really requires a lot of extra work on the part of the commissioner doing that job, and I think that's the third time you've been chair during your term as commissioner, but your efforts are really appreciated, and thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Echo that.
I'm going to make a comment after.
Okay.
I just wish, as Patty did earlier, everyone a Happy New Year, and as you did earlier. It's pretty exciting to get it going into 2018. As a friend said the other day, the days are long, but the years are short, and they go by pretty quickly. We are moving into the legislative session for the state of Colorado, and I will be traveling a lot for that and trying to work on all those issues that we hear about so much, health insurance, premium cost, transportation needs, and so on. So just wanted to say I'm ready to roar for one more year. Thanks.
All right.
Yeah, I wanted to just add that this will be Rachel's last year on the board, and we are going to take full advantage of Rachel's time this last year. We have her booked pretty heavily, at least for the first 6 months, and we're going to work on the second 6 months when we get there. But I just wanted to add a note for those who have been watching the news about the tragedies in Montecito and Santa Barbara County. My nephew lives in the middle of all that tragedy. He has not been directly impacted, but so I haven't seen any funds that are being started for the people there, but it's my understanding that there are 15 people who have lost their lives in the mudslides, and there are some unknown number of people who are still missing. So I just want to send out my thoughts and prayers to all the people that just came through the Thomas fire, lost a lot of homes, and then, shortly thereafter they had this significant rainstorm and the flooding and the mud debris flows. So at least the sun is shining there today, so hopefully the rescue and recovery efforts will go on. But just wanted to send thoughts and prayers that direction.
Thanks, Patty. Okay, with that, we'll move on to our consent action items. These are single readings. We'll take these one at a time. We'll have a 1-minute break.
For Grassroots TV.
For
Can't
Grassroots.
get rid of this chair.
We started on time.
Stall him.
We started.
Oh, man.
Let's try it again. So we're going to move on to our consent action items. These are single readings. We'll do these one at a time. The first is the minutes of the regular meeting of December 20th, 2017.
I would make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of December 20th, 2017.
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next is a resolution appointing the chair and vice chair, commissioner representatives to various boards, committees, and authorities.
Thanks, George. This is a resolution that we do at the first regular meeting every year, designating the chair and vice chair and the Board of County Commissioners, as well as assigning board members to various committees or commissions or groups that the county is part of. In terms of the chair and vice chair, we try and stay in a standard rotation based on the district number. Of course, there's 5 districts and 4-year terms, so every now and then we run into a situation where we'll have a new commissioner who's up for being chair their first year, and we try not to do that to our new colleagues, and so we make adjustments. But this year, under that rotation and our standard modifications to it, with approval of this resolution, Patty would become chair, Greg would become vice chair. There are a number of committees and such that we discussed yesterday. There were some amendments to the resolution that was originally posted on the website pursuant to that discussion. We did add Colorado Commissioners Acting Together, CCAT, with Rachel Richards as the primary and Steve Child as the alternate. We also added Colorado Compact for Climate Action with Greg Poshman as the primary and Steve Child as the alternate. We also added Colorado Counties for Climate Action with Steve Child as the primary and Cindy Hubin as the alternate. We changed, let's see if I can find this, the bark beetle to something here.
Yeah.
Thank you. I couldn't find it there. The High Country Forest Collaborative. And then yesterday under CCI, we did remove public lands because we did get direction from the board that we are no longer going to be paying those dues. I did not quite understand that there's still a public lands committee, and so we had eliminated that from this resolution, but I think we need to add that back in because you can still...
I would make a motion to amend the resolution under Colorado counties to add the Public Lands Steering Committee and have Rachel Richards as the primary and Steve Child as the alternate. There's a second?
I'll second that. There's one other mistake on here that we could add to your motion, Rachel.
Okay.
The Colorado, it says Colorado Compact for Climate Action. It's actually Compact of Colorado Communities.
Okay.
That Greg, the one that we just added since yesterday.
So what does the name read? How does it read?
Compact for of Colorado Communities, I think is it's technically.
The compact part is first.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Compact for Colorado communities?
It's either for or of.
Outside of Colorado, if it be, isn't it?
It's the Colorado Compact. I don't know much about.
Well,
I will
we'll
amend
do
my
Google.
motion to include correction of the title of Colorado Compact for Climate Action after John verifies the correct name.
Okay.
That's acceptable to a second.
That's acceptable to me.
Any further discussion? With that, it's my honor to move.
Whoa. This is going to be a motion on the amendment first, and then we'll vote. Can't let you off that easy, George. Okay. So we have to vote on the amendment
Okay.
resolution.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And then I would move the entire resolution and slate of appointments for 2018.
Second.
Any further discussion? I'll just say that I think it's been a very productive year. In 2017, we got a lot done. I thought we worked really well as a board. And 2018 will present some new and exciting challenges, and I'm sure we'll continue to work together to address those. So thank you all. And with that, I'll call the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I will happily
hand off the.
Thank you, George. So I would like to thank George on behalf of everyone, the Board of County Commissioners, staff, county staff, and the people of Pitkin County for keeping us on topic, on track, and on time. George has done an amazing job herding cats at some times, and we really appreciate all his efforts. He has done so very consistently, compassionately, and I know where you live, so when I get into trouble, I'm coming knocking on your door. But I have some big shoes to fill, and I'm going to do my best. And I know George is right across the table. So, and Greg will be coming on as vice chair. And so we're going to be working on getting Greg up to speed here and ready to go. So, and we have a little card, and we have a gift, but it is somehow locked in the county manager's car.
So maybe I can just get the car. I'll just get the car as a gift. Make it simple.
Thanks
just
for
give me
putting
the
that
keys.
on TV, Patty.
Oh, thank you very much.
I think his girls took it to school today for show and tell.
The car or the gift?
I went down to the car and left my key here.
Yeah, Rachel.
Yeah, I just would like to say a word or two as well, because Patty's covered a lot of good territory. The meetings that the public sees when we're televised, work sessions and special meetings and regular meetings. But you don't see George at the RAFTA meeting. You don't see George. I mean, you see him. He's there, but we don't see him. Excuse me for how that sounded. But, you know, the extra work, the traveling commitments, whether it was the Bureau of Land Management, Resource Advisory Council, until the last presidential election made them moot. You know, the Intermountain Transportation Planning Region meetings are usually over in Eagle and somewhere over on the I-70 corridor. A lot of travel there, and a lot of tough issues given how underfunded CDOT is. And again, RAFTA, which, you know, during your time on this board, we've seen that successful implementation of BRT and facing the challenges of RAFTA, leading us at EOTC meetings, any number of other commitments. You're a constant caucus goer to the caucuses within your district, and we really appreciate that. So just wanted to add, there's a lot more that goes on than just here in our little meeting room.
Thanks, Rachel.
You're welcome.
And he also sits a chair, as RAFTA chair, core chair.
Oh, I forgot core, see?
Been a busy guy.
Well, I take one thing off my plate.
Yeah, well, trust me, I'm working on finding you another.
All right.
Okay, thank you all.
All right, so moving forward, and I'm going to ask the board, it's going to take me a while to get back up to speed on this, even though I believe it's my 4th term as chairman of the board. So it's going to take me a while to get up to speed, so please do not hesitate if I miss opening a public comment, public hearing or closing one, please just jump in. We're in this together, and I'm going to need some help getting back up to speed, as I said. So moving forward, we are moving into our individual consideration items, first readings, set for public hearings on January 24th. First item is the ordinance authorizing an agricultural lease of Emma Open Space North Lease area between the Board of County Commissioners and the Grange Family Ranches. So Paul, would you please introduce yourself? And I think he's going to pull up some maps for us.
Yes, I am. Yep. My name is Paul Holsinger. I'm the Agriculture and Conservation Easement Administrator for Pitkin County Open Space and Trails. Just to give you a little background here, the Open Space and Trails Department manages about 350 acres of agricultural land, and from time to time we'll put them out to bid for private agricultural lessees to put forth their ideas. And so this is just our next round of properties coming through. So all last year, we're talking about this north piece here. It's kind of hard to see my pointer, but it's this big triangle up in the upper right, 20 acres. This map was developed when we went through our management planning process for Emma Open Space all last year, and through that process we heard from the public that they wanted to see some continued agricultural use on the property, and so we split these property up into 3 agricultural areas. It went out to bid as per our agricultural lease bid policy and process, and we got 2 bids back on that north lease area. One was from Grange Family Ranches, who hold the property over here. It's that big ranch just south of basalt there. And Martin and Company, which is otherwise known as the Woody Creek Distillery. So they put in a bid. Our agricultural selection committee looked at both those proposals and basically scored them the same, though in our agricultural lease bid policy, if there are folks who have leased property in the past and have done so in good standing, they can choose to bump them up a little further to reward that good stewardship, which the Grange family had leased that property in the past and have done a good job on that. So that's what brought them ahead. They proposed to lease it for 10 years at $7.50 an acre. The selection committee was comfortable offering them a 5-year lease, so that's what they recommended to our Open Space and Trails Board. They at the $7.50 per acre. Open Space and Trails Board saw this, and they went with the selection committee's recommendation, and they, at their December 12th meeting, 2017, recommended that Grange Family Ranches obtain this lease for $7.50 an acre for the next 5 years. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Does the board have any questions for Paul?
Paul, I would love to ask just regarding this is an annual lease, $7.50 an acre annually.
Annually, correct.
And I just saw, when I looked at the map, I saw the wildlife crossing. I'm thinking, is this a repurposed map, or does this have some component? Are they going to be participating in something to do with wildlife crossing enhancement there? Or?
They aren't particularly, but what Open Space and Trails are going to do is we're going to fence off permanently this piece here with a wildlife-friendly fence, and their proposed use of the property fits in pretty well with wildlife-conscious management actions that we have for the property. They're planning on growing hay, and they only have cattle on the property for maybe 3 or 4 weeks, so it's generally open, and it's a good access route, and it remains open with that. So that did go into the consideration, but yeah.
Okay, thanks.
That's a good point. How long has that underpass been there? Years, hasn't it?
Oh, decades.
Yeah, probably since 2000.
And do we know how much use it gets? Do we have
We-
any tracking?
We have put up a wildlife camera there. I don't know the numbers, but we have caught some deer and elk going through there. We've also seen prints from bears and
All kinds of
raccoons and all that kind of
Everybody's
stuff.
using
Yeah,
it. Osprey or flying through there.
footprints, people, they all go through. Yeah.
Wish they'd all use it.
Yeah. Any other questions, Steve?
Paul, I wonder what the status of the Schoolhouse Field and the South Field are,
Yeah, that's
since the Martin and Company had requested to lease them also.
That's a great question. So those two pieces, we did get through that same round. Well, we got some lease bids for those pieces, and there were some recommendations made, but there were a few details that we needed to work out before the recommendation came to this board. So that's going to be discussed tomorrow at the Open Space and Trails Board meeting, and then after that one, we'll bring that recommendation to you as well once we have the recommendation.
And I know at least Harper Kaufman and Christian LeBar were attending the meetings, and I presume they were interested in leasing part of that anyhow, of those two parts. But then housing was an issue to them.
Yeah.
And are you taking that into consideration, the possibility of having the M Open Space housing be part of that lease, or is that a whole separate thing?
We're separating that from the M Open Space, at least the lease areas. Right now, we don't feel it's appropriate to put residential units there, but we're working with them on some other infrastructure improvements, possibly. And we have a white Mather house across the street, which, if you can see here, I think I can.
The white brick Victorian.
The white brick Mather house, yeah, that could be repurposed next year. So, but yeah, to answer your question, no residential on open space.
One more.
Those lease areas.
Any other questions? Great.
I would love to just ask about the orchard on the west side there. I guess that's the west side. The condition of that, and is the lessee doing anything with that orchard?
No, the way that was discussed in the management plan, this orchard up here at the top, that's an area where we've got some funds set aside to get that historic orchard up and running again, or at least get some new trees planted and an irrigation system put in to have some fruit-producing trees possibly. And if that is a success, or people are really enjoying it, then we just reserved this little area to expand into once that happens. But that probably won't happen for at least a couple of years.
Steve, did you have another question?
No.
I won't be able to attend tomorrow's Open Space and Trails meeting. I have a RAPTA meeting, but I did forward on, just for the public knowledge, I did forward on some of my concerns and comments on one of the lessees, potential lessees' desires on part of this parcel to build a barn and some hoop houses. That's the same parcel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do have some concerns on that. I think that this has always been an open space parcel without any structures. I noted that if there was going to be any changes in that there should be a referral to the Emma Caucus for comments as well and recommendations before any final decisions are made in regards to that.
Yeah, and to follow up with that, one of the things that we're discussing tomorrow is not the placement of structures, but how that process is going to work. So we're going through the infrastructure that they're requesting. We've laid out a process plan, which involves talking with the Roaring Fork Conservancy, who holds that conservation easement on the property, as well as going to the Emma Caucus and involving any other folks who would like to have a sit down. And we're coming up with some simulations to gauge the scenic effect. The meeting tomorrow will have a lot of information. It'll be discussed quite a bit, I'm sure. And if anybody has any information, they can certainly contact me, and I can get the memo out to them.
So we're talking about not the one that's before us, we're talking about the other two, just to clarify.
Yeah, that one will come through.
So we're not talking about the one we're looking at approving today, which is with the Grange family.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Just to clarify.
Yeah, I just wanted to point
and that's a good
out.
point to throw it out now.
The other thing, I'm sorry.
I'd like to make a motion.
The other thing is, which I never realized, that this parcel was actually held by the Roaring Fork Conservancy, or are they sort of a second holder on that?
Yeah, Picken County owns the property outright, and then they hold the conservation easement over the property.
So what is their role then in terms of looking at the usage? And
So it's very specific to the conservation easement language. For these agricultural properties in the management plan, they have to approve it. They have to approve certain improvements and that kind of thing as the holder of the conservation easement. And they monitor it every year to ensure compliance with the conservation easement.
And then who has the ultimate say in terms of usage?
Well, it's that's a hard question to answer. It's a lot of dominoes. So Roaring Fork Conservancy certainly has to approve certain things. We, as an Open Space and Trails group, will want to get as much public input as we can to make sure what we're doing is in line with the community. And Open Space and Trails Board and BOCC has the ability to administer funding for certain infrastructure things. So there's a lot of working parts. Not one person has overall say, but we kind of all have to be in agreement.
But ultimately, if it's coming back for an approval,
back to us.
it comes back to the Board of County Commissioners ultimately.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. All right. I just want to clarify
Good
that.
points. That's interesting. I never knew that. Steve, did anybody else have comments? Because Steve wants to make a motion. Okay.
So I'll move to approve on first reading the ordinance of the Board of County Commissioners of Pickens County authorizing an agricultural lease of the Emma Open Space North Lease area with the Grange Family Ranches.
I'll second it.
Any further comment? Discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion passes 5-0. All right. Thanks, Paul. Moving again. Paul's got the hot seat today.
I do. So the next property that we have is a little different. This is the Coke Ovens Open Space. It's located in Redstone. This red area here, just in the bottom right corner there, is the Coke Ovens that are along Highway 133, which is right here in the corner as well. Open Space and Trails purchased this property a couple years ago, and when that happened, we did put this property out to bid through our normal processes, through the agricultural lease bid process. We got one bid back, which was the Avalanche Outfitters, and the Selection Committee, Open Space and Trails Board, and BOCC recommended and gave them a lease. The way that lease was written up and intended was to have somebody steward the property while we caught up on some of our management planning that had to happen on some other properties, so the intent was to have this lessee in place to take care of the property, manage the weeds, fix some fences, and base a horse outfitting operation out of there. We have had to adjust some of our priorities with management planning, so it seems like this property is now going to be programmed in 2019. So we'd like to extend this lease to get them to have a lessee remain on the property until we get to a management planning process and it's complete. So we brought this to the Open Space and Trails Board at that December 17th meeting.
Yeah, the 12th of December?
12th, yeah. And they recommended that the Avalanche Outfitters get an extended lease for another couple years. So we have somebody on the property stewarding it while we catch up and get that management plan completed. So
the extension date is to December 31st, 2019.
Yes.
Currently. Questions? Steve?
Paul, they're only leasing the lower part of the land that the county purchased. And I noticed that, at least it doesn't show a fence across between the upper and the lower parts of that.
Yeah.
Do they put up an electric fence, or do they actually use and take care of that upper 35 acres or so along with this?
Yeah, so this map is out of date. So since this happened, we do now own the 35 acres to the northeast or northwest of this 35 acres. So now it's 70 acres altogether. The way we've worded it is, so this fenced-in area here, they're leasing that pasture there for horses. And now that we do own the entire property, there's really no issue with trespassing right now, but we are going to just have them manage this property that's totally fenced in and around the structures, which it's hard to see that. But
So is the yellow line, the upper one on the upper end, is that the old line splitting the two different parcels?
yeah, so that was the old line. Now it
Now it
goes
extends
all the way
further
up.
up the map.
So in the future, that might be a lot longer parcel that then we'd be leasing all together, perhaps?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, Greg.
Could you tell us a little bit about the financial terms of the lease, and what are their obligations regarding irrigation? And
Sure. Yeah. So the Avalanche Outfitters, they are currently and in the future, and what was recommended is they pay $3,600, $3,600 annually for the property, and the lease that that they have right now is our standard lease, which puts noxious weed management, irrigation, exercising of the water rights, all these things they have to keep up with. And we have additionally, we have an annual operating plan where we can single out specific items that are specific to that property. And this one certainly has a lot of infrastructure. There's some barns and run-in sheds and fencing that we put extra attention in the annual operating plan for them to maintain those pieces in the state that they receive them in. So, yeah.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, and I believe it's my understanding that part of this leasing program that we're doing now is because the people who are leasing our lands are doing such a great job that the county doesn't have to do for the noxious weeds, irrigation, water rights. So that's why the terms of the lease, the cost are less than you would find in the free markets, so to speak.
Exactly.
Because they do an enormous job for the county. George.
Well, I haven't done this in a while, so you accept the motion?
Oh, George! Yay! It's your first.
My first one of the
George,
year.
from you. I don't know. I got to think about it. Yes, please.
I'd make a motion accepting the ordinance of the Board of County Commissioners of Pickens County, Colorado, authorizing an outfitter and agricultural lease of the Coke Ovens open space.
I have a motion. I have a second. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Motion passes, and this will be set for public hearing as the others on the 24th. Is that right?
Correct.
January 24th.
Okay, moving along. Paul, welcome.
Next one. Yeah. So this is another unique property that Open Space and Trails and Pickens County acquired. And what we're looking at here's the high school off to the right here. And this yellow outline is Gracie High open space. And this property serves quite a few functions. This kind of fluorescent greenish area is the community garden, the Basalt Community Garden. The purple area is the bike pump track, I think. And then this kind of brownish area is the piece that we're talking about. And the unique part about this property is this also did not go through our agricultural lease bid process this year because the property, when we purchased it, it didn't come with water rights to irrigate that field. And when we completed the management plan, Billy Grange and Grange Family Ranches was leasing it, and since they do have water in the Gracie High ditch, which runs along which kind of separates the bike park from the hay area here, they would use some of their water to irrigate that field and grow some hay. So since we don't have the ability to offer this piece with water rights or which is essential
Water.
to maintaining this property. Within discussions with staff, we thought it was more appropriate just to continue to lease this to Grange Family Ranches, since they're the only private entity who can maintain the property. So we presented that to the Open Space and Trails Board, and they went along with that same recommendation. At the December 12th meeting. And for this property, we've offered Billy and Grange Family Ranches a 5-year lease. We offered it to them for just in exchange for stewardship, since
They're using their water.
it's unique, in that way.
Great.
Question on are they are they not irrigating that piece of land then, the irrigable land, or are they importing water, and how does that work?
You know, they are irrigating it, so that's why we've offered it to them. They have water rights in the Gracie High ditch that runs in between here. So when they have time and they can, they have been putting some of their water onto that property to grow hay, and they are the only ones that can do that. So
Got it.
That's
Steve?
I also have questions about the water rights. Technically speaking, are they even allowed to use water from a ditch on that land that they don't own? The water rights are specified for other land than that. And I don't mind them irrigating the land, but going by Colorado water law, I just question whether it's legal for them to irrigate that with land that's earmarked for other land.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting question.
I kind of thought the same thing.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
You know, they may need
Made a
to,
little note to check on that, so. I'll
Yeah.
get
Okay.
back
So we can check on that and bring it back for second reading.
yeah, and they may need to, file with water court just to apportion some of their current water rights to that land.
Or it may be allowed because it's adjacent to, or we don't know for
I
sure.
don't know. Okay.
Good question. Any other questions? Seeing none? George, jump in.
Really? Okay.
Back to back.
Two in a row. I'll make a motion accepting the ordinance of the Board of County Commissioners, Pickens County, Colorado, authorizing an agricultural lease of the Gracie High open space.
Great.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. So,
Thank
still
you.
here? You're done?
I'm done.
That's it.
I'm out of here.
We'll see you on the 24th.
Yeah, right.
That's a lot of good work. Thank you very much.
Thanks. It's very exciting. That article in the paper was great.
Oh, yeah, that was wonderful.
That was really great. I mean, it's such a great feeling to be able to do this for the community, for open space and trails, and to keep all these different levels of sustainable agriculture in the valley, and all these young, enthusiastic farmers. It's really neat.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. So thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Next is a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners authorizing the County Manager's Office to submit a grant application to the Department of Local Affairs, Energy Impact. Kara's not here.
Kara is at a conference. So I'm gonna
On
take this one.
internships? So this is to accept a grant for the best and brightest intern for 2018 and 19.
Thanks, Patty. I think everyone's familiar with the program and the Best and Brightest Intern program, as that's how we brought Kara into the organization originally. For the public, what this program is it's a grant program that's funded through energy impact grant dollars. And what the program does is it provides funding to pay approximately half of the cost of bringing an intern on, and this would be somebody who is either near completion or in process of completing a master's degree in public policy or public administration. For us as an organization, it's a great opportunity to bring somebody on who has made a commitment to public service, is trying to start a career in public service, and has dedicated themselves to that with the assistance of the state to help absorb those costs. And we've had really good luck. We've had really good experiences so far with the Best and Brightest Intern. On the flip side, it also allows us to meet what I consider to be one of our obligations to help bring this next generation of public service leaders into the profession, whether they go on in a career with us in Pickens County or somewhere else. It is increasingly becoming difficult to recruit folks into public service, and this is a program that really, I think, helps has a benefit for everyone at the end of the day. In this case, the grant application requires a resolution from the Board of County Commissioners to accompany the grant application. The grant will be for up to $23,000 a year. We had actually budgeted for $20,000 in revenues and a total cost of $53,000. We tend to overmatch a little bit in this program, primarily for two reasons. We provide a little bit more help with housing to the intern, as well as our health benefit costs tend to be a little bit more than the statewide average. And so that's where you see the a little bit more than half coming in.
Questions for John? It's my understanding that Kara will be supervising.
Yeah, so we've actually
exciting.
selected an intern at this point. I think really the application process is a little perfunctory at this point. We've gone through the process with the Department of Local Affairs. We have an intern, Alex Sanchez, who grew up in Silt. He has a lot of experience in the Valley. We're particularly excited about him because he really, became interested in public service because he's worked service jobs in the Valley and wanted to figure out what were the one or two or three things that maybe he could do to make the lives better for the folks that he was working with. Kara will be supervising this position. It gives us an opportunity to give her some experience to take the next step in her career. I think she's particularly sensitive to the needs of interns, having come to us through that program herself. And he will be providing support in the policy analysis realm, so looking at the legislative issues and providing support there. He has previously done an internship in, I believe, one of the state house members' offices, so has some familiarity with that process. We also like to prepare the interns for generalist management, and so we throw them at a lot of different projects so they get a lot of different exposure throughout the organization, and they help us fill gaps. We do not anticipate him starting really until June. We don't have a good place right now to put another person until we're in the new building, but we will be negotiating maybe some part-time work for him between February and June until we move into the new building.
When the state's in session.
Yeah, when it's in session.
And I could think of no better mentor than Kara for this young man. So,
John, a couple questions. Is he still located in Silt, or is he living closer in Mid-Valley now, or where does he live, and is he moving up? Or
my understanding right now is his family's still in Silt. I think he's going to be looking to be coming closer, but I don't know what his individual plans are.
I want to know how many candidates are there for something like this, and how many have we hired through this program or brought in as interns, and how many can you have at a time?
So this will be our second.
Okay.
To my knowledge, I think you can only have one at a time, or at least one grant at a time. They can probably let you bring on as many interns as you're willing to accommodate. So this will only be our second time using the program. And so our first time we brought Kara in. I was familiar with the program before coming to Pickens County. I've worked with Best and Brightest interns in previous professional capacities. In fact, I'm finding now I've been around long enough that I'm calling those folks who used to be our Best and Brightest interns who are now city managers or such. I'm starting to feel a little old making those calls. But did you ask? So yeah,
I was wondering how many we had. So you've answered. I think you've answered my
all
question.
okay.
Thank you.
and the other question is, I've totally spaced it now. So this will be coming back to us for second reading. Hopefully, Kara can be here for that.
I think this is a resolution. I believe this is.
They're
just
all
a-
under second read, unless that's not necessary. It's under our section for a second reading public hearing on January
It's just a
24th.
resolution accepting the grant.
Can we clarify? That's how it's
Yeah.
posted.
Yeah.
And you set it up for two reading?
Yeah.
Oh, if
Two,
we have to do
okay,
two
two
readings, we
reading.
have to do
It'll
two
come back
readings.
first.
And the memo does say public hearing on January 23rd, but I believe
My
it is the
mistake.
24th, correct? Yes, correct. I'll correct myself on that one. Okay, any further discussion?
That's it.
I'd like to make a motion. I move to approve the resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Pickens County authorizing the County Manager's Office to submit a grant application to DOLA, the Department of Local Affairs, Energy and Mineral Impact Assistance Fund, and to accept the grant for a Best and Brightest Intern for 2018 and 2019.
I'll second that.
Thank you. And we will have a second reading, gentlemen, on the 24th?
Yeah, we'll do a second reading
Since
on
that's
this
how it's
one. Yeah.
posted, that's how it's noted. Okay, so I have Rachel.
Just a comment. I want to thank John for his leadership in finding ways to stretch our limited resources and bring people into the valley of such great caliber. So thank you, and I think this is a good program.
Oh, that reminded me.
You're
The thing is this young man is finishing up his, or in the process of his master's at?
He's with the what's called the New Directions program through CU, and it's actually a master's in public policy this time, not a master's in public administration.
So he's working his way through that. I think it's exciting. I think he'll bring a different concept to the county as a whole, and I think it's great he's coming on board. So.
And we'll look forward to introducing him to you when
Can't wait.
he's up
And
here.
hopefully, those who go to CCI will be talking to this young man a lot. So I have a motion and I have a second for the discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Do we need a break before we move into our second part of this meeting, or can we move forward? We're good? We're good. Okay, Dale.
Thank you, Patty. And I am here to present on second reading. Oops, that's not what I wanted. A proposed ordinance authorizing the purchase of a 1.6 acre parcel of land that is down in the Crystal River Valley. You can see it here, Sewell Tract 116. Sits right on the southern edge of the neighborhood, sometimes called the BRB or the Seven Oaks neighborhood, and abuts a 40-acre county open space. The 40-acre parcel is one that the county obtained as a result of the Forest Service asking us to protect the Ashcroft ski area, believe it or not, and in that land exchange, this 40 acres was on the BLM disposal list, and it came to the county through that congressional land exchange. It's been sitting there protected by us since the exchange was completed about 9 years ago, and Jason Sewell recently decided to put this Tract 116 on the market. It's listed for sale, and we took a look at it and realized a few things about it. Number one, if it sells into the private sector, it'll have a house developed in an area that when you're actually on the ground, you can't tell the difference between 116 and the open space. It's a kind of a cottonwood forest in there that's supported both by the Crystal River itself as well as the East Mesa ditch that runs through here. So from a habitat perspective and a scenic open space perspective, we thought it was a good idea to acquire this to create a buffer between the edge of this subdivision and the edge of our open space. The Open Space Board has unanimously recommended that we acquire this, and the commissioners, I believe, unanimously approved this on first reading. It's a pretty simple transaction. The attorney's office is well on their way through looking at all the title review and all that kind of thing. Single tract listed for sale, and we're getting off to an early start with the open space acquisition program.
Any questions, comments? Greg?
I'm queued
You
up
knew
in
that
the
was
front.
coming?
Could you just once more, because the question has come up from the public regarding the potential of this tract as part of the trail system. Is this tract necessary for the Crystal River Trail, or is it not necessarily even related?
It abuts one of the potential alignments, but it's not necessary for the Crystal Trail. You'll see on the map here, I don't know if I can get this little cursor to go in here, but in this spot here where Bill Creek Road abuts the open space parcel, it's not actually on the Tract 116. This map is a little bit skewed. The GIS shape file is a little bit off. That road actually runs in like this, so it's a little bit further east, but the Bill Creek Road is depicted in the Crystal planning maps as alignment B for the Crystal Trail. It's separate from Tract 116, so I don't really see this acquisition as adding to that potential use of for the alignment B in that planning process. However, it does, as I say, I guess protect the context of the existing open space, and if the trail is to go that way, it'll add a little bit more scenery and habitat along the edge of that alignment.
Great, thank you for clarifying.
And just real quick, Dale, it's my understanding that part of that congressional act that gave us the Ryan parcel and this parcel, part of it was that we maintain public access through this area. So I think this just enhances our requirement with that land exchange.
Absolutely. Patty's describing a deed restriction in the federal patent that we obtained from the Secretary of Interior provides that if we do not maintain public access onto this 40 acres, we have to give it back to them. So.
And we worked too hard to get it, to be given it back.
That was a job.
I'd make a motion to approve the authorization of the acquisition of Sewell Tract 116.
Second?
And this is a public hearing. So are there any members of the public wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, I will bring it back. I will leave the public hearing open till the end of these public hearings today, so it will remind me to close it at the end. So I'm going to call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Next is an ordinance approving the purchase of 1300 East Valley Road, Unit 1 in Basalt for the Aspen-Pitkin County Airport personnel housing. Good afternoon.
Hello. Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year to you. Please introduce yourself.
My name's Chris Padilla. I'm the airport controller.
Sally Sheikman Miller. I'm the county's real estate professional.
So today, just like any other employee or employer, we are challenged by recruitment and retention, largely due to the housing issue, along with the planned projects that are planned at the airport. This could compound that issue even more. So the airport would like to purchase Unit 1 at 1300 East Valley Road, using the airport enterprise funds, and not using any tax dollars. The staff recommends that we open the public hearing and approve the ordinance.
Questions from the board? Steve?
Chris, who will be doing the maintenance on this building? Will it be county facilities staff, or will it be airport staff, or what?
It'll be airport staff.
Okay. Do you have any other properties down there that you're maintaining at the this time?
The first unit that we purchased with 2-bedroom over on, I think it was 212 at 1300 East Valley Road. Excuse me.
Oh, right up this.
So,
Okay.
yes, the airport will be maintaining both of those properties and any future properties.
And do you have an employee kind of lined up right now to move into here?
Actually, when I get back, I will be notified of that person today.
So we better hurry, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Just a comment. I just wanted to also thank Sally. Sally's been with our program now for several years, and Sally understands our needs, our requirements, our price range, and she continues to search and seek out these little opportunities for us. So thanks, Sally.
My pleasure. Thank
And
you.
Thank you.
what's really commendable is Sally knows how fast we all need to act these days. So we are working quickly, as quickly as possible.
We appreciate that.
Yeah. So this is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board.
I would make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further comment? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very
you all.
much.
Good to see you. Next.
Happy New Year.
Next, we have an ordinance adopting an amendment to the Pitkin County Land Use Code concerning areas and activities of state interest and,
Skipped one.
oh,
Number 9.
Number
oh,
9.
did I? Oh, Karen, I just skipped right by you. I haven't crossed you. Thank you.
Sorry.
I haven't crossed you off as done, so that was easy. Thank you, guys. And intergovernmental, I wanted to see if you guys were watching and paying attention. Intergovernmental agreement for Garfield County Public Health to provide women, infant, and children, or the WIC program, the Food Nutrition Program services to Pickens County Public Health. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Karen Kenneman, Pickens County Public Health Director. And this is the second reading for an IGA with Garfield County to provide health educator services around the Women, Infant, and Children, or otherwise known as WIC program. This has been a program in Pickens County for a number of years, and Community Health Services has been providing this program as well as Garfield County Public Health. So they've divided and conquered that work, and we've found that that was a very successful relationship and program. And so when Public Health took over the master contract and the task order for this work, we decided that it was best to just keep it status quo. And so part of the dollars we've allocated toward Community Health Services to provide the work, as well as hoping to confirm the IGA with Garfield County to go ahead and provide the other half of those services for our community.
Great. Questions? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Somebody can jump in at any
I'm
moment.
making a motion to approve an intergovernmental agreement between Pickens County Public Health and Garfield County Public Health concerning women, infants, and children program services.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Sorry, I did not mean to skip you. You were probably going, phew, I'm done. All right, now I'm going to bring in an ordinance adopting an amendment to the Pickens County Land Use Code concerning areas and activities of state interest and repealing Land Use Code Section 7-90, 2-40-140, as well as amending Table 2-1 to include the Planning and Zoning Commission as a recommending body for as part of a two-step review. So I have presenters.
Patty, this is a second reading of the proposed ordinance. The board considered it.
Is your mic on and slid over?
Far into it. This is a second reading and a public hearing of an ordinance that the board first considered at the end of last year. It is to affect three particular amendments to the Pickens County Land Use Code. The first is to recodify the Pickens County Land Use Code's treatment of 1041 regulations. 1041 regulations is a shorthand nomenclature that refers to the state statute that authorizes this type of review for counties and municipalities. It is House Bill 72-1041. And what it did back in the 70s is to encourage local governments to consider potential impacts of different development activities and to encourage local jurisdictions to develop a system of referral contacts and to develop mitigation methodologies to respond to development requests. Pickens County didn't need too much in the way of encouragement. In fact, we were a little bit ahead of the state statute. And then over time, what the county tended to do was rely more upon the Local Government Land Use Control Enabling Act rather than the 1041 Act. This presented the county with a more of a rigorous platform for review and ultimately led to the current land use code, which incorporates denials as a response to certain development applications that do not meet land use code criteria, as opposed to the 1041 emphasis, which is to identify mitigation steps as opposed to denial of an application. However, over time, as we relied on the one element of state statute more than the other, we lost our ability to review things with as equal vigor under the 1041 authority as opposed to the Local Government Land Use Enabling Act authority. Particularly that was seen in regards to the development in the area of state law concerning applications for development that are brought in by subdivisions of the state. Subdivisions of the state of Colorado are typically recognized as counties, municipalities, or quasi-governmental entities, special districts. Essentially, you can think of it as a potentially or actually tax entities that can impose a tax to fund certain activities, like a fire district or an ambulance district or a school district, that type of a thing. So by reinvigorating and recodifying our 1041 review processes, what we do is capture review of those types of applications, and we increase the level of inspection and review and requirements for those types of development applications, such that we can analyze them towards creating a system or a requirement of mitigation to deal with the anticipated impacts. So the regulation itself is rather lengthy, but its outline is actually quite simple. It follows the state statute very well and simply elaborates on the criteria and the different elements that we will consider under areas that have been identified. I would point out to the board, in recognition of the earlier comments I just made, that the 1041 code amendment, which is this item in front of the board right now, will not apply to all development requests or development applications in the county. We will leave Chapters 2 and Chapter 7 of the existing land use code in full force and effect, and apply these particular regulations only to situations where applications are brought in by entities or governmental subdivisions that would ordinarily receive only a review under the county's location and extent process, and any application that concerns an activity of state interest would be subject to these regulations. So an activity of state interest is a term of art within the state statute. What it means particularly, grab it quickly, are any development activities that concern or relate to domestic water or sewage treatment systems, public utilities, municipal or industrial water projects, solid waste disposals processes and sites, airports, highways and roadways, development or realignment, and any development associated with mass transit facilities. So wide open as far as mass transit application, but certainly in our case, any development plans that would be offered for review by RAFTA, for example. So the regulations in question would only be applicable to those types of applications, and given the heightened degree of review that we would be putting those applications under, we've also embedded a FONSI system of review. A FONSI is a acronym for a finding of no significant impact. It's a process that we took off of NEPA, and it allows an applicant that can demonstrate that the particular development activity is obviously not creating any type of significant impact that it can get out of a full review under these regulations. The other thing I'd point out for the board, we've talked about this before, is that the requirements for review concerning municipal or industrial water projects are particularly heightened given the concern that the county has for stream flow management and the preservation of healthy riparian habitats and ecosystems. The code sections within this code amendment also refer out to a scientific study that was done by County Healthy Rivers and Streams program. It was commissioned to try to elaborate on other work that had been done in this field to assess impacts to stream systems from diversions. How much water can you take out of a river before you notice an an actual impact to either the ecosystems involved or the other benefits that are afforded by stream flow. And it refers to an appendix that was authored by Greg Espergren, and the particular appendix being done for the county at the time was this particular work was never published independently, so it's included as an appendix into the land use code so that it is available to the public to review prior to any application that might implicate that type of a level of analysis. So the text of the code amendments are the same as the board first considered at first reading, and if there are no questions, I think the matter is appropriately before the board for adoption.
Questions? Rachel?
Well, more of a comment than a question, but I'm really glad to see this come forward and it's being done in a timely fashion. As I shorthand, or in layman's terms, re-explain, Pickens County had put the requirements and the review standards of 1041 within our code without explicitly calling it out as 1041. And by reincorporating it in as 1041, it assures that we have the powers necessary to regulate those type of land uses. I know from my work with the state water plan that it really took a lot of defending to eliminate any language about weakening 1041 powers in counties in order to have front range water providers push through projects more easily. And so defending 1041 has always been really important, and it just became very apparent that we needed to recall these out and reconstitute these in our land use code specifically. So I'm very supportive of this item going forward.
Any other questions or comments? This is a public hearing. Any members of the public wishing to speak on this item on our agenda? Seeing none, I will bring it back to the board.
I will make a motion to approve an ordinance adopting an amendment to the Pickens County Land Use Code concerning areas and activities of state interest, and repeal Land Use Code Section 7-90 and 2-40-140, as well as amending Table 2.1 to include the Planning and Zoning Commissions as a recommending body as part of a two-step review.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, John. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is an ordinance granting an access easement to the owners of 8895 Upper River Road, Woody Creek, Colorado. Please introduce yourselves. New face to our table.
Good afternoon, Richard Neely, Assistant County Attorney. I'm here with Fred Pierce. Let him introduce himself briefly.
I'm Fred Pierce. I'm representing the grants.
And you need to either pull the mic in our mics or...
Fred Pierce. I'm
Fred Pierce.
Grants.
It's so nice to see you, Mr. Pierce.
Good to see you.
All right, this is an ordinance granting an access easement to the owners of the property located at 8895 Upper River Road, Woody Creek, Colorado. This is the second reading and duly noticed public hearing. The first reading was on December 20th, 2017. I believe the board's familiar with this, but I'll provide a little bit of background. The 8895 Upper River Road property is located in the Woody Creek area of Pickens County, approximately in the location between the intersection of Smith Hill Road and the Woody Creek Tavern. This is a request for an easement that covers approximately 500 square feet, I believe, of an existing driveway that connects the 8895 Woody Creek Road or Upper River Road property to Upper River Road. I can go into further detail if you'd like. This county acquired the adjacent property that the easement would go over in 2005 as part of the W/J affordable housing development, and the grants went through the 1041, the then existing 1041 process that we now have again at the beginning of 2006. And at that time, this driveway was designated as the activity envelope for the property. It was approved by the Community Development Department, and I believe that this is more of just a cleanup at this point to make sure that the property has legal access to a county right-of-way. the board has any further questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Board have any questions?
This, just to recall, this is Wingers and Alcorn's places.
Correct.
Before them, right? And will anything change to that access? I know that's that steep. Nothing will change. They're not going to.
Stays the same.
Got it.
Any other questions?
That's it.
Fred, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, Ryan's done a great job.
And how are the grants doing?
Very well, I believe.
Not
Thank
seen
you.
them in years. Bringing it back to the board. Steve.
Well, a comment, this is really a common sense thing to approve this because it's what's on the ground. And conceivably, we could say, no, you can't do this and make the owner build a steeper driveway staying completely on their land, but that would not make any sense to do that. So I approve of doing this, and I'd like to make a motion to approve an ordinance granting an access easement to the owners of 8895 Upper River Road.
Second.
And now it's a public hearing. Any members of the public wishing to comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Further comments? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. It was nice to see you, Fred.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rye. Next, I take it you're covering these? The next item is an ordinance approving a lease agreement between the Board of County Commissioners and FB&F LLC, or Stubby Sports Bar, for space located at River Park Center, 123 Emma Road.
Thanks, Patty. I actually was not planning on covering these, but I will do so. This is a second reading. There's no changes from your first reading on these leases. The leases were worked through looking at prevailing market rates, as well as previous lease terms. There were some minor amendments that happened in the negotiations that were worked through with the county attorney's office. Let me get to the main document here. So for this lease is for the 123 Emma Road, the upstairs portion that has the Stubby's bar in it. The lease agreement provides for about approximately 3,335 square feet. The fixed minimum annual rent for the lease each year is $75,000 paid in monthly installments, which comes out to about, there you are, 20. How am I doing, Jody? $22.50 a year. And I'm going to turn it over to Jody. Didn't see you coming in, Jody.
So you pretty much explained most of it. We're getting down to the cost of the lease and no changes since first reading.
No changes since first reading. They still remain great tenants since first reading.
We've given them 2 weeks.
And yeah, we just ask that the board consider approving this on second reading.
Any comments, questions for Jody? This is a public hearing. I'm going to see if there's any members of the public wishing to comment. Seeing none, bring it back to the board.
Just thinking about it, there ought to be a board visit to the site. I've never been there.
Okay, the next meeting that you're invited to with John Peacock and I, we will take you there. Okay, John, we'll take him down. Let's take him up.
There is precedent. Yeah.
Steve.
Just a comment. I've gotten more chuckles from other commissioners from other counties when I tell them that we own a building that has a sports bar and a Chinese restaurant and
a subway
shop in it.
Yeah.
And they just think that is the really interesting thing, and I think they wish that they had it also.
I've heard people want to run for Board of County Commissioners just so they can own a bar. So do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the ordinance approving a lease agreement between the Board of County Commissioners and FB&F LLC, doing business as Stubby Sports Bar, for space at the River Park Center, 123 Emma Road.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any comment? Now, I already opened the public hearing, brought it back, so we can vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Jody. And Jody, Our last item on our agenda is an ordinance approving a lease agreement between the Board of County Commissioners and Connect One Design LLC for a space at the River Park Center.
Correct. So again, this is second reading. We were able to present a couple of weeks ago. No changes in the actual lease itself and or in their status as good tenants. They do lease 976 square feet. That amounts to $16,592 a year. And in addition to the CAM, which is the common area space that we bill quarterly. And they're at the equivalent to about $17 a square foot plus the CAM. So, and they've been awesome tenants. So, and they are on a second floor, no elevator. So, this is the right solution for this company and the county.
Rachel?
Yeah, I'm happy to go through with these and appreciate your work in negotiating the new leases. And so this is kind of a broader, long-term question, maybe for you and John. But the with Mountain Family Health set to move into the building in the space we have, and us set to move here, all happening around July this summer, something like that. Is there going to be any other space in the Stubbies building to lease to other commercial partners that Mountain Family Health is not taking?
At this point, no. And I think the future considerations for this board will be whether there are county services that would benefit from being co-located either or located near Mountain Family Health and or just to have a presence in Basalt as a customer service item. So I think right now there will not be any additional space. We are I think trending slightly ahead of the pro forma that we provided to the board when we purchased the building at this point, so nice. That's all good. And I think we will probably want to have future discussions about are there other county needs and services that make sense to be located there.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No question. Any other questions? This is a public hearing. I'm going to open it to the members of the public wishing to comment. Seeing none, I'm going to bring it back and I'm going to close the public hearings for this entire section of our agenda. Bring it to the board.
Just regarding, last question, just on that last topic, sorry, regarding the market rates. How close are we to going rates in Basalt?
We're in range. They're between $18 and $28, so we're pretty much right in there. Actually, $14 and $28, depending on access, parking, all of those factors. So,
great,
and we actually did 2 independents. Actually, Connect One went out and reached out and did their own kind of research to find out where the market was, and then I had our realtoring company with Sally assistance to look at our part in comparisons with a bar or another entity, and then based on second floor and parking, all that, and this is where we landed.
Great. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
We got to get George warmed up
again. Like, come on, you guys, you're dragging the meeting out just to see how long you can make me sit over here.
You want to do it? Go ahead. Okay, I'll make a motion for the Board of County Commissioners for an ordinance approving a lease agreement between the Board of County Commissioners and Connect One Design LLC located at River Park Center, 123 Emma Road, Basalt.
Second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Any further comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Thanks, Jody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jody.
Cool
Sorry to make
vest.
you rush over here. We were moving along.
Well, I saw Open Space sit down, or the attorneys sit down, and I thought, okay, I'm on my way, and then they were like walking out.
This one's fast. Very good.
So we are at our open discussion section. Do we have any open discussion, Mr. Peacock?
I have a couple of items for you. First, just a quick update. We had another open house on the ambulance facility last night. We had a little lighter turnout than our first 2 meetings, but we had good representation from both the neighborhoods. I am happy to report to you that even though we started off on, I think, a rather tense foot in those discussions, that this was overall a really positive meeting. That I talked particularly to representatives from the Twin Ridge HOA, who were very appreciative of the efforts through the design process to address concerns around lighting, noise, visual impacts, and all the direction that really you all gave to really try and get the mechanicals and noise inside the building, to go ahead and lower the roof line a little bit. The sensitivity to the light was played well. So there's probably about a dozen people there. We did have one person still concerned significantly about the location and the decision to locate it where it is. But outside of that, the discussions were very positive in terms of the plan, what we did with the Nordic Trail. It went well. So
good to hear. Yay.
Wanted to report that out to you. And also, I guess it shouldn't be unexpected because we put our hats in the ring for it, but today, actually just within the last hour, Colorado Department CDHS announced, of Human Services announced that Pickens County has received a co-responder grant for mental health services and law enforcement coordination up to $362,000 a year to enhance those services for the next 4. It's huge. To be honest with you, we thought we were probably out of the running. We submitted the application. We worked hard on the application with our partners. And we didn't get called back for the interview process or the question process and so on and so forth. But we were actually awarded the full amount along with we had the city and county of Broomfield, Denver, El Paso County, city of Evans, city of Grand Junction, Larimer County, city of Longmont, and Pickens County were all recipients. So
this was highly competitive, too.
This was highly competitive. And so we will need to report back to the board. It's up to that $362,000. We now go into contract negotiations with CDHS. We need to work with our partners now. All the law enforcement agencies that participated to confirm our model and resource needs, and we will be back to talk to you. We've got some work to do now that this was announced.
Great.
Okay, I was just curious what the match requirements might be. Depends on up to that amount. We don't know.
No, this is awarded to implement the program. There
no
are
match
requirements.
And the partners included whom?
We worked with Valley Law Enforcement, so the Sheriff's Department and Police Department and Snowmass Police Department were our primary players. Basalt will also benefit from this.
It's really exciting, yeah. So how would these dollars get utilized?
Well, co-responder is really creating programs that overlap mental health professionals and law enforcement and responding to mental health issues that law enforcement might otherwise be responding to on their own. So there's some overlap with what we've just contracted for. So there's an opportunity for significant enhancement of services to the community, and the idea is to really maximize our ability to divert folks who need mental health services from being in the jail or the prison system. And so it's really about how do we law enforcement is often our first point of contact with someone in need of mental health services. And so this will provide different avenues for how we provide a continuum of care for those people.
And so when you refer to our recent IGA with the City of Aspen, ABH, Aspen School District for addressing the vital mental health needs.
So that's, I mean, this is in addition to that partnership, but it's right in line with the efforts that we've been trying to implement. We saw an opportunity to leverage additional community resources for our community in an area that, again, we've been focused on this because in our citizen attitude survey, this consistently is rated as one of our most important community issues, as well as one of the ones as a community we're doing poorest on. And so we've really focused on how can we make quick improvements to the services available and improvements to the system. And so this is all, it's a little bit just circumstance that these things are coming together the way they are right now, and a little bit of planning.
Oh, great. Congratulations. It's exciting.
That's fantastic news. And as we talk about the continuum of care, does this include education components, or is it like something, would it be something like training or ride-along? I know there's a lot of news lately about the ride-along programs with counselors, with the police.
So potentially, yes, and that's what I'd like to, now that because when we made our proposal, it was potentially within a full range of funding. It looks like the full level of funding, which we did not anticipate, to be honest with you, will be made available to us based on the plan. So I think it's incumbent on us now, Greg, to recircle the wagons with our partners and really choose that those programmatic elements, and we'll be back in front of you with those.
So there was just recently, was it Colorado Springs that's doing this whole mental health law enforcement? Was that the one that was just in the news?
Colorado Springs or Denver?
Yeah, it was something.
And they're also recipients.
Yeah, it was a big thing about the realization of something that's been going on for so long, and the need to really assist our first responders and with training, with backup, with support systems, because so many of the clients that our first responders deal with are undergoing some kind of mental health crisis. So I think this is huge, and just the timing is so perfect. And it gives you goosebumps because we really knew the competition was tough, and we didn't have a lot of time to put this together. So well done.
Yeah, we're excited about this, and to be honest with you, now we've really got to circle the wagons, because we did not anticipate, because we weren't invited to those first processes, that we were going to get it. So we find ourselves pleasantly surprised and with another quick turnaround.
Did you reconfirm that email to make sure?
Yeah, I will.
Nigeria.
There's a lot of spam going on there.
And I will go ahead and forward that press release to you guys now.
Rachel.
Yeah, this is great work, John, as always, with all of our staff and you leading the way. What I would like to make sure is, as you circle the wagon and think about how we implement this, that we think about some sort of metrics for evaluating the effectiveness. And I realize that's really difficult. It's kind of like measuring something that doesn't happen, in a relative sense in terms of harm avoided. But I think that's going to be a really important component, both for replicating the program in other places in the state and its continuity going forward over time once the grant is gone.
Absolutely, and that was actually a component of the grant submission, was how we would look to, and so apparently we put something good in there. I'm going to have to go back and look at it.
Read it.
They didn't need to interview you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to, on the mental health note, serendipitously, I was visited this week by a trainer for mental health first aid. And she gave me the background. You're probably all familiar with it because it's been around a while, but it was a training program started in Australia about 10 or 11, maybe 15 years ago now. The 10% of the population of Australia has been trained in mental health first aid. And what it is an 8-hour program where anybody, lay people, can do the 8-hour course, and they teach people how to make an early assessment of themselves or others, and how to seek help. And it seems to me that something like that is a first point of response sort of program we could have here. I know it's happened in the past.
Maybe bring in under this grant.
Maybe it would be included, or maybe it's something that goes along with it. But I'm very excited about hearing about those things.
So we'll continue, and we've recently talked about that idea, and I think. Oh, sorry, I didn't have the mic on. That's good because I was stumbling all over my words. But at any rate, we will take that under consideration, see if it fits within the four corners of this grant.
Excellent.
Yep.
Any other comments on this? Okay.
Congratulations.
Steve,
Yeah.
you have another item?
On another item.
You have more?
More of a, for your information, the Strategic Action Planning Group on Aging Committee that I've been serving on for over 2 years had made as its number one recommendation to the state that they create a cabinet level position of an aging issues coordinator. And today the governor is introducing the person who was selected, and that is Wade Buchanan, who has been on the SAPCA committee. I've known him now for almost 2.5 years. He is really an awesome person, and he was formerly the head of the Bell Policy Institute and very active in aging issues. So he will be coordinating all of the aging efforts for the different state agencies, which a whole lot of different agencies have a piece of the pie, and it's been everybody in their own little silo. And so this, we're looking forward to having one person at the state who will be the go-to person about aging issues, and we think that this will be a very fruitful move by the state.
Good news.
Any other open discussion items? I just want to, before we close, I should have maybe done this at the beginning, but we have two significant funeral services, memorial services this weekend. Dorian from the Aspen PD, her service is, I believe, on Sunday at the Prince of Peace, or the Aspen Chapel. Prince dated myself. And then Steve Franklin, his wife Sandy Franklin used to run the Heather Gallery here in town. He passed away last Saturday. His service is this Friday, 2 o'clock at the Catholic Church in Basalt. So just a notice for those in the community who might have missed it in the newspaper. So we've had a lot of this tragedy already this year, so let's hope we're going to be winding down this year instead of winding up on that note. So, and if there's no other items from the board as far as open discussion, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, yay. Motion and second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Thanks, Jeanette. Thanks. Did it. I know.